Look at her. She is not doing anything. She is not performing loyalty or demonstrating intelligence or waiting for a command. She is simply breathing. And in that breath, in that slow, unhurried exhale, lives 15,000 years of history. The dog in your living room is not simply old. She is ancient. Not in the way a piece of furniture becomes antique or the way a habit becomes tradition. Ancient in the way a river is ancient, still moving, still shaped by forces that predate every city, every language, every border we have ever drawn. She carries a genetic inheritance so precise, so carefully selected across hundreds of generations that behavioral neuroscientists now describe her as a biological artifact, a living record of the relationship between two species. Her DNA is a document, and today we are going to learn how to read it. Welcome to the Wise Claw, where the science of who your dog is and why she does what she does meets the quiet miracle of the bond you share. Imagine a world with no dogs. It requires more imagination than you might expect. For the entirety of human history as we know it, every war, every civilization, every story ever told, dogs have been there. Sleeping by fires, running beside soldiers, sitting at the feet of pharaohs. But before that, before all of it, there were only wolves. Canis lupus, the gray wolf. For millions of years, wolves had thrived as apex predators, pack hunters, suspicious of strangers, wary of any species large enough to compete with them, including us. And then, somewhere between 14,000 and 40,000 years ago, scientists are still refining the estimate. Something shifted. A small population of wolves began approaching human settlements, not to attack, not to compete, to linger. The leading theory in evolutionary biology is that this was not something humans planned or engineered. It emerged organically, a process called self-domestication. The wolves that were slightly less fearful of humans were the ones that accessed the caloric windfall of human refuse piles. They ate better. They survived more winters. They produced more offspring. Fear was being quietly, slowly selected against. Generation by generation, something extraordinary was happening inside the genome of these proto-dogs. In 2010, researchers studying the comparative genetics of dogs and wolves published a finding that rewrote the way scientists thought about domestication. On chromosome 6, in a region associated with social behavior and hypersociality, dogs carry a specific pattern of genetic variation, one strikingly similar to the mutations found in humans with Williams syndrome, a condition characterized by exceptional social warmth, trust, and orientation toward other people. This was not a coincidence. This was the signature of selection. Nature had not simply made wolves less aggressive, it had made dogs fundamentally, constitutionally oriented toward social connection, and most powerfully, toward connection with us. Your elderly dog did not learn to love you. She was built for it. The capacity for this bond exists in her biology, the way the capacity for language exists in ours, pre-wired, waiting for the right relationship to call it forward. In 1914, near the town of Bonn-Oberkassel in Germany, archaeologists unearthed a grave. Inside, they found the remains of a man and a woman, and, buried alongside them, a dog. But it was only in 2018, after decades of additional analysis, that the most remarkable detail emerged. The dog, a young animal, probably a puppy, had been severely ill. The bones revealed evidence of canine morbillivirus, likely distemper, a disease that causes muscle spasms, neurological deterioration, and profound weakness. A wolf in the wild with this condition would have died within days, unable to keep pace with the pack, unable to hunt, abandoned by necessity. But this dog did not die from distemper. This dog was kept alive through at least 3 separate waves of illness over a period estimated of 5 weeks. Think about what that required. These were people with no veterinary care or supplemental nutrition or any of the infrastructure we take for granted. These were people for whom every day of caloric expenditure was a calculation against survival. And yet someone, some specific individual human being, chose to hand-feed this sick dog, to clean it, to stay with it through its seizures and its weakness, to spend 5 weeks keeping it alive. Not because it was useful, it was too sick to be useful, because it mattered. This is the oldest recorded act of pet care in human history, and the people who performed it, who wrapped their world around a suffering animal and refused to let it go, are, in some profound and unbroken way, your ancestors. The impulse you feel when you arrange your schedule around your elderly dog's medication, when you sleep on the floor because she can no longer climb onto the bed, when you drive an hour to find the food she will still eat, that impulse is 14,000 years old. It did not begin with you. It was handed to you. In developmental psychology, there's a framework called attachment theory. It was developed in the 1950s and 60s by John Bowlby and later expanded by Mary Ainsworth, whose strange situation experiments became among the most cited studies in the history of psychology. The core idea is elegant. Certain individuals become what researchers call a secure base, a reference point of safety from which another being can explore the world and to which they return when threatened or uncertain. In Ainsworth's original research, that secure base was a parent, and the subject was a human infant. In 2013, researchers at the Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest replicated Ainsworth's strange situation paradigm, but this time the subjects were dogs. The results were striking. Dogs exhibited precisely the same behavioral signatures as human infants. Exploratory behavior increased in the presence of their owner. Distress increased sharply when the owner left. Comfort-seeking behavior was directed specifically at the owner, not at a stranger, not at another dog, merely at that one person. The dog's owner had become, in the precise clinical term of the term, a secure base. But the neurobiology goes deeper. Research published in the journal Science in 2015, led by Takafumi Kikusui at Azabu University in Japan, demonstrated that mutual gaze between dogs and their owners triggers a significant rise in oxytocin, the same neuropeptide involved in maternal bonding, pair bonding, and the formation of long-term attachment in social mammals. When you look into your dog's eyes, her brain releases oxytocin. When she looks into yours, your brain releases oxytocin, a feedback loop of trust and attachment firing in two nervous systems simultaneously. There is also the phenomenon of heart rate variability synchronization, HRV coupling, in which the autonomic nervous systems of bonded dogs and humans begin to align during prolonged proximity. Their physiological rhythms drift toward each other. They become, in a measurable sense, attuned. Behavioral neuroscience has a term for what you experience when you sit quietly with your old dog: co-regulation. Two nervous systems, shaped by millions of years of separate evolution, finding a common frequency. Your calm calms her. Her presence steadies you. This is not sentiment. This is biology. She moves more slowly now. She sleeps in longer arcs. She startles more easily. She is choosier where she rests and who she rests near. It would be easy, and entirely human, to read all of this as decline, but evolutionary biology and behavioral neuroscience together suggest a different interpretation. As dogs age, their deepest evolutionary programming becomes more visible, not because it is all they have left, but because the social and cognitive energy that once powered rapid learning, explosive play, and boundary testing has quieted, and what remains is the bedrock, the attachment system, the search for safety, the need for the secure base.
When your senior dog follows you from room to room, slowly, laboriously, with arthritic effort, she is not exhibiting separation anxiety in the clinical sense. She is activating a behavior pattern that kept her ancestors alive for thousands of years, the pattern of proximity maintenance. Stay near the safe person. In moments of vulnerability, and old age is, in the language of evolutionary biology, a long moment of vulnerability, the proximity of your attachment figure is the most reliable source of regulation your nervous system knows. When she comes to your bed in the night and presses herself against you, she is not being needy. She is exercising a 15,000-year-old strategy for surviving the dark. In the ancestral environment, nighttime was the hour of greatest predator risk. Pack proximity meant protection, warmth meant safety. The sound of familiar breathing was a biological signal. You are not alone. The threat is manageable.
Your heartbeat in those quiet hours is a message her nervous system reads as clearly as any spoken word. It says safe, stay, rest. Her increased sensitivity to sound, to change, to the emotional weather of your home. These too are ancient tools. Social animals surviving on the margins could not afford to miss signals. The cost of false negatives, missing a real threat, was lethal. Aging dogs do not lose their perceptual acuity indiscriminately. They often become more attuned, not less, more vigilant, more responsive to you. She is not failing at being the dog she was. She is succeeding at being the dog she has always, most essentially, been. There is a word in evolutionary biology, exaptation. It describes what happens when a trait that evolved for one purpose is repurposed over time for something new. The wolf's social cognition, built for pack survival, for reading the intentions of other wolves, for the complex negotiations of a hunting group, was exapted over 15,000 years into something no evolutionary biologist could have predicted. It became the capacity to form a profound, mutual, neurobiologically real bond with a member of an entirely different species, with you. Your elderly dog is not a shadow of what she was. She is the full expression of what she always was, a being shaped by deep time to find her truest self in relationship with yours. Every gray hair is a data point. Every slow climb to your side is a piece of evidence. Every drowsy sigh pressed into your knee in the afternoon quiet is the continuation of a conversation that began around a fire 14,000 years ago. She is not just aging, she is completing something. This is the Wise Claw, a channel devoted to understanding your senior dog not as a problem to manage, but as a miracle to witness, backed by the finest science of our time. If this video gave you something, a new way of seeing the animal beside you, a deeper appreciation for the bond you carry, subscribe. Share it with someone who loves an old dog. In the next episode, we will go deeper into the specific cognitive changes of the aging canine brain, what the research reveals about memory, sensory processing, and what your senior dog may actually be experiencing in those long, dream-filled afternoons. Until then, stay close to her. She knows something you are still learning to understand.